Hi everybody, welcome to Uncle Jonesy's Camera of the Week for Sunday, April the 19th, 2020. Today, we're going to be talking about the best camera ever made. The camera that made this photograph and millions like it. That's right, snapshots. This particular snapshot comes from, it looks like October of 1957 was when it was developed, and that handsome devil there in the photograph is Uncle Jonesy himself. He is dressed up, ready to go out for a costume party, it looks like. All right, pretty cool. I have quite a few photographs just like this one because my parents had the camera that we're going to talk about today. And that camera is the Kodak Brownie Hawkeye flash. That's right. Now, surely you've seen these. If you've ever wandered around an antique store or flea market, you've seen this camera. It's pretty cool. It was made by Kodak, Eastman Kodak, from 1949 until 1961. So it had a 12-year run, and they made millions of them. They were extremely popular cameras. And as you can clearly see, it's the kind of camera we call a box camera. And all it really is it's an update of Kodak's famous box camera, which kicked off their entry into photography, the famous Kodak #1, which was a cardboard box with a lens and a shutter and a way to advance the film and a way and a viewfinder. And that's all this camera is, except instead of cardboard, it's made out of a kind of plastic called Bakelite. All right, a Bakelite camera. Now, what's really cool about this camera is that there's virtually no settings on it. You simply frame your subject, like I'm framing you right now, looking through the viewfinder, and then you press the shutter, and then you advance the film to the next number in the red window, and then you shoot again. And you get 12 frames on a roll of film, and then you take it to the drugstore or the photo lab in your town, and they develop it, and you get images like these, all right, square images. Pretty cool, all right? So let's see, are there any settings on the camera? Well, really only one, and that is on this side. This is the shutter on this side. On this side, if you pull this up like that, the shutter goes to bulb setting, which if you look carefully, it stays open as long as you hold the shutter and then releases. But you say, okay, you can do time exposures, right? Well, you can, but you've got no tripod socket. So good luck in holding it still. It can be done, but I'm not sure. Now, some details about the camera. It has a shutter speed of 1/30th of a second, or around there. And you could get one that may be a little slower, maybe a little faster. We'll just round it up to 1/30th of a second. The aperture is somewhere around, it can be measured at f14.5 or f16, depending on how you measure it. I would just go ahead and say for f16 purposes and a shutter speed of 1/30. So on a bright sunny day, 100 speed film will work just fine. I've shot it and gotten good results with 100 speed film. You might even try Portra 160 because you get a little bit, Portra has a lot of latitude and it will do just fine in it. On a cloudy day, I would bump it up to 400 speed film or even 800 and give that a try. Now, if you shot the camera inside, then none of those would work. You would have to get some light, and that's what this is for. This is the Kodak flash holder, and it has the LumiClad reflector, which that's pretty cool. All right, so you would put this on. There's a couple of mounting places on the side, and there are the flash contacts, and screw that on like that. And then you would take a number 5 or a number 25 bulb, and you would pop it in there, and then you would frame your subject just like you did before, and then advance the film. And using the guide on the top of this flash gun, I would probably stay anywhere between, it says 7 to 20 feet when you're using Verichrome pan or Plus X, which was around 100 speed film. But you don't want to be too close to anybody with this thing, because when that flash bulb goes off, everybody in your zip code will know that you've taken a flash photo, because it makes big explosion of light. All right. Now, is it practical to shoot this camera today? And the answer is yes, it is practical, but there are a couple of issues. First of all, if you have an early version of this camera, which this one looks exactly like the one my parents had, and I know this because of that metal winding there. It later changed to plastic. But if you have an early version of this camera, then chances are when you look on the inside, here on the top is where you would put the spool for the film, all right? And this is a roll of 120 film, and it will fit in there just fine. But later on, Kodak decided to put a little metal tab on this part right here, and it angles out like this, and it keeps you from putting this spool on that camera, because this is a spool, a 620 spool, and this is a 120 spool, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but the 120 is a little bit larger, and so the 120 film won't fit the later versions of the Brownie Hawkeye. All right, there's ways around that. One thing you can do is take a pair of fingernail clippers and clip the edges here like this, so that you could reduce the size of these. Since this is plastic, that's not hard to do. And then you could put this 120 film in the camera just fine. Another thing is that you can roll, if you have a 120 spool and a 620 spool, and I've got a 620 spool here, which, by the way, these can be had from the film photography store. They 3D print these, and they'll be happy to sell you some if you want to try this. You can take 120 film and roll it to another spool, and then roll it to a 620 spool so that it's back where it started, because you got to roll it twice. You got to roll it, then the tail of the film is now out, and then you have to roll it back so the beginning leader is now out. And this all has to be done in a dark bag or a completely dark room so that you don't fog the film. But then you've got 120 film on a 620 spool, and you're ready to go. Now there's one more thing you can do, and that's simply buy 620 film, and the only place you can do that I know of is, again, the film photography store, because they actually have already taken 120 film and rolled it onto 620 spools for you, and it's ready to go. So you can buy that film, pop it into your camera just like this. Like I said, this is a early version of the camera, so this one will take 120 film just fine. Pop it in there like that. Then take the leader and pull it across, put it in the slot down here, wind it on a turn or two so that you know it's nice and secure. Then put the back on, lock it like this. There's the lock. And then start turning it and looking through the red window until you'll see various things, some arrows saying keep going, until you get to number 1, and stop when number 1 is there, and now you're ready to shoot. Can you do double exposures in this camera? You sure can, especially when you don't want to, because there is no double exposure prevention on it. You can fire as many times as you want to on the same frame. So you have to remember, as soon as you fire it, to advance the film to the next one. And when you're done, all your film will be on the bottom spool. All that film would be down here, and you'd simply take it out and either develop it yourself or send it off. Now, if you do send it off, then please put a note on there. You'll want to put a note that says, please return my spools, because you've got a 620 spool in there and you want that back. All right, so I think that pretty much says everything I need to say about the Kodak Brownie Hawkeye. There is a non-flash model. That was the first version of this camera, and then they added the flash version with the flash sink on the side here, the contacts. And these are easily available. You can see them in just about any antique store. You can see them online, and you shouldn't have to pay very much for one. If you do get one, then make sure that you got a good view through the viewfinder and that the lens is clean. And by the way, this glass here in front, I meant to show you the shutter too. Hang on. Let's do that. Watch the shutter go here. Ooh. Is that still? Oh, there we go. Watch. See it fire? There you go. I think I'm blocking with my hand. There we go. See that? There you go. You shouldn't have to pay very much for one. If someone wants to charge you $50, just keep moving because you can find them for cheaper than that. But make sure it locks good and no light leaks. I haven't had any light leak problems with this one. And 100 speed film or 160 for sunny days, 400 for cloudy days. Maybe even give 800 a try and see if you can get you a big flash unit like this. All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Uncle Jonesy's Camera of the Week. If you like our show, then you might like our podcast too. And that is the Uncle Jonesy's Cameras podcast. You can find that at any of your favorite podcast sources. And we have a blog too. And we'd love for you to read our blog, and you might learn something there. I learn something every time I write an article. And it can be found at unclejonesyscameras.blogspot.com. And we spell Jonesy's Jonesys, no apostrophe, unclejonesyscameras.blogspot.com. Our Facebook page and our Instagram account is at UJC Podcast. So until next time, get those cameras, get your box camera out there or any camera that you got out there and capture those moments. You'll be glad you did when you have those photographs in your head. And until next time, happy shooting, everybody.